Welcome to PopTernative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
All right, and welcome to the PopTernative podcast here on Blab. I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On Twitter, I go, of course, as PD Beats. This is the podcast where we discuss topical issues and discussions from the worlds of social media, sports, and pop culture. We have three guests with us tonight for this amazing panel where we're going to discuss networking and hashtags. So we have a social media manager from the Pac-12 networks, Justin Karp.
Guys, hands.
We have the chief strategic officer for Tagboard and also an Emmy award-winning journalist. I gotta plug that in.
I need to grab the Emmy. It's in the office here.
Yeah, did you bring the Emmy?
it's right
You should go bring the Emmy. But
I'll be back in 2 seconds.
We got Jenni Hogan who will go get her Emmy.
I like how the Emmy is just in arm's reach, like at all times. Like in case of emergency, here's my Emmy.
And while she waits to get her Emmy, we also have Chris Yandle from Georgia Tech Athletics. So, and very cool thing, Chris, how does it feel to be the first ever returning guest on PopTernative?
I hope it's a compliment. I also think you may have been short on your list of guests as Jenni shows her Emmy.
No, that's a lie. I just thought the chemistry between us on that live tweet that we had was unbelievable. So I just thought it would be cool to get all three of us on an episode. You remember that? We had a tweet.
And you would have probably
all of us, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have probably canceled me had we not won on Saturday.
So the Emmy is in the room. So
it is. It's when you're at the office late at night. It's got little spikies.
Oh my god, that is fantastic. So yeah, we'll go around the table quickly and just give us a brief bio. Justin, let's start with you.
So I'm Justin Karp, as you so kindly mentioned. I'm the social media manager here at Pac-12 Networks based in San Francisco. We are the only wholly owned network in the college space by our 12 member schools. So whereas other networks have some sort of corporate ownership, whether it's Fox or ESPN, we're owned by our schools, which gives us a lot of latitude to be a little bit more agile, we hope. Cover a lot more than our peers in the space, who they obviously do a very, very great job, and they've been around for longer than us. But it's our job to delight and engage our fans with the best and brightest of our student athletes and what's going on and off the field. And what I love the most is that we don't just concentrate on the big ones, the football and the men's basketball. You know, less than 48 hours, we've got our cross-country championships and women's volleyball having a great season, men's and women's soccer, and the more that we can do to connect our fans to those great students and those great things that they're doing on a daily basis, that's what I try to do.
Great. Jenni, floor is yours.
So I just have to let everyone know I'm from Australia originally, so I have a little accent, but I've been here a long time now, so you might hear some twangs.
You're not the first Australian guest we've had, by the way. We've had Saskia Stewart, who is also from Australia.
Perfect.
Social media in the NHL.
If I'm nervous or a little tipsy, it comes out more, just so you guys know. Like, crikey. Yeah.
No worries.
So, was a TV talent for 12 years doing the traffic on air, got an amazing social following, amazing community, felt the power, left TV to impact other TV talent and producers to utilize technology for that power. And so now Chief Strategy Officer at Tagboard, and that's what we do. We create technology for sporting teams, media companies, and brands worldwide to really connect their communities with the voices and topics that they love as well.
Terrific. Perfect. Chris, you've been on the show before, but,
because I think you ran out of guests or you felt sorry for him.
You said that already.
Peter, he's your Ed Sullivan.
Chris, A lot of people will know you, at Georgia Tech Athletics, but anything else you want to briefly say or talk about to introduce yourself?
Two day jobs, well, really one, assistant AD for communications and PR at Georgia Tech. Right now we're still celebrating the miracle on Tagboard, Block 6, Bobby Dodd, Block, whatever name has been tagged on a T-shirt this week. And then my night job for Thursday nights is adjunct instructor, public relations writing at Kennesaw State.
So thank you all three for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yay.
So thank you. So let's get into some digital dialogues. So let's talk about networking. This is a term that it's a very vague, loose term. Networking. Well, my three guests are social media. Some could call them social media experts, or have a greater knowledge of social media and sports than others. Let's talk about go around. What do you think about like the do's and don'ts? And Chris, we talked about this a little bit with Armand for Bleacher Report on the first episode, but I wanted to get the do's and don'ts about networking. You know what I mean? What's kind of a no-no? What's you don't want to spam and you don't want to bother people and email people a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So when we think about networking, what are kind of the strategies that we use to kind of get a balance so that you're getting messages out, but you don't want to seem overly eager and sometimes annoying?
I think there's a huge difference between being eager and being desperate. A lot of I'll get 50 or 60 LinkedIn requests. I'm sure Justin and Jenni get 1,000 more than I do. And it's from random people that I've never even heard of, which is fine. I have no issues with it. But I think the major no-no is at least pretend like you know something about me. Don't do the robotic, hey, I want to add you to my network. Am I allowed to curse on this?
Let's not curse.
Okay. All right. No bleep, Sherlock. Okay. Let's just put it that
Fair,
way.
Thank you.
So why don't you in your message tell me, hey, whether we met in real life or, hey, I'm interested in learning about this. Can you tell me more? Give some sort of avenue that maybe opens up a conversation. Because if you just send me, hey, I just want to be added to your LinkedIn network, I don't want to be another business card in your list of contacts. I want to have something built afterwards. I want to be able to have a cup of coffee with you
relationship.
And be like, I want to say that I actually know you, that you're not just some crazy wackadoo freak show that just wants to add me to their list of network friends. That's not how I
think what people don't understand when they're trying to break in, or even if they're in it and they're trying to move up, is what a small community this is. And I know a lot of businesses say that it's a small community and everybody knows everyone, but literally, like, we know each other. We're always connecting on Twitter, and for every team or league, there's only 1, 2, or 3 social or digital people running the show. Especially in the leanest of lean situations. So yeah, it's the idea that, like, as an example, if a vendor is coming to us and wants to sell us a product, and they'll put up a slide that's like, we've worked with X, Y, and Z leagues, the chances are when you put up those logos on the screen, we know somebody at each of those leagues. And so the fun thing to do there is call up somebody at those organizations, say, hey, we had a vendor come over and talk to us about how you've worked with them. And they're like, yeah, they called us once. And that's it. Mm-hmm. So I would agree with Chris. It's the idea that, like, don't, and the one company that never does that is Tagboard.
I love it, leading into that. Yeah.
But it's the idea that, like, we know each other, but it's not like we're a closed, cloistered, group of people. Like, we want to expand, we want to network. That's our job, is to be social. But I agree with Chris. Be genuine about it and be approachable, and state your intentions right off the bat. Listen, if you're connecting with me to talk about, a job, tell me that you're interested in talking to me about a job. If you want to learn more about what my company is doing, tell me that. Don't be ashamed or bashful to be upfront with your intentions. Frankly, the people in my world who do that are way more likely to get a positive response or a LinkedIn request or a follow back on Twitter, if you just let me know, what you're all about.
Mm-hmm.
And add one thing to what Justin just said, to show you how small this world is. One of the people that works with Justin at the Pac-12 Networks was one of my students at Baylor University. So that goes to show you how small of a world this industry really is. So don't lie. I think, as Justin said, be genuine. And if you're straight up and up front, there's a lot of people that
Jenni, let's get your thoughts on this, and then I have a follow-up question for Justin.
Okay. I met Justin through meeting Mark Kramer at a social TV conference in New York, and it wasn't to get Pac-12 as part of the Tagboard family. It was meeting Mark, and they were calling him when we were in San Francisco was, how can I help you? Like, Mark's a great person. All of the people in this industry are amazing people. They're going to move around in different places. So if you go into networking with how can I help you, and just really listen, oh, wow, this might fit that area, this might fit that area. It's never thinking about what I'm going to get, because if I have people in my world that think the same, they're going to be thinking about that already for me. So as I network, we really want to know, how can we help that person? People first, improve their life. And especially with technology, if we might not fit everything they need. We want our friend to succeed, right? So like you said, Chris, don't lie, be honest, and then maybe help fix that problem. And it's nothing to do with what you really need either, but when you can fix their problem, then you have the trust, and then you do have the relationship as well. So.
And Justin, you brought up some really interesting points, and I think this is going to be a really fantastic question for the whole panel. When you're talking about, people like contacting you, or the lack of people contacting you, you say, like, if you want, like, kind of, you don't want people to beat around the bush. That's what you were saying, right? Correct, Justin? You want them to be, direct? Okay, so this is a, B, or C question for the panel. Are people, A, afraid? B, don't know how to approach it? Like, they really, like skill-wise, they don't know how to approach it. Like, they're about to write you an email, Chris. They don't know how to start. You know what I mean? They're just, or C, a little bit of both. Like a balance. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting question. I think it's probably C, because, if it's B, when the person, it kind of depends on age and experience, right? So it could be B, and it's not ill-meaning. It could be somebody who's a little bit intimidated. It could be somebody who has never approached. I mean, I remember being 19 and on a college campus and trying to make connections for the first time. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And you learn that through time, and you learn that through getting that experience. So I think depending on kind of where you are in your own career and where you are in your own life, kind of, it can be A or B, or it's a really interesting question that you pose there, because it could be a little of all three of them. And frankly, I mean, I even get it, in a personal professional life, there's an element to option A where sometimes for some people it's hard to just come out and say, hey, I'm going to be in town, let's talk about this job opening, or hey, I'm interested in your social strategy and I'd like to adapt it to what we're doing. And you have to respect that to a certain extent, but to some degree, if you're going to send a repeated LinkedIn request over and over and you're not going to tell me who you are or why you're contacting me, then you're going to get sent into LinkedIn purgatory. Yeah,
because before we get to Jenni and Chris, it's funny you said you opened up like that, Jenni and Chris, you know what I mean? Fun fact, I technically have never met all three of you in person before, which is something that's kind of made, like, it's a different perspective, that you don't need to necessarily, physically meet someone to kind of like create a relationship with them, and like, for example, I've known Chris for, Chris, I've known you before I connected with Justin and Jenni. And what we did basically is we started, talking and sharing ideas about podcasts, because remember, I was interested in your Beyond the Why. And, we established and created a relationship. So I think what you said is interesting, because it can go both ways, right? Like, yeah, it's a community where we know each other, but maybe we don't really know each other as well. Like that's what I think is like pretty interesting about social media. It's a whole new dimension. But yeah, that's a whole new dimension. But yeah, Chris and Jenni. Chris, what do you think? A, B, or C for the question I asked?
You know, it's probably a mixture of both of them. From a teaching perspective, I notice that kids nowadays, they don't know how to approach people. They don't know how to pitch themselves. A resume is a sales piece for yourself, and these kids don't know how to approach people. So one of their assignments this semester was to collect business cards at a function, and I want them to handwrite a letter or email and copy me on it. I have 16 kids in my class.
Fantastic.
One kid
that's a really good one.
Unfortunately, only one kid did it, so they got extra.
I know. That's such a great idea, though. How did you come up with that?
Right. Well, we had a colloquium here at school about a month ago, and there was like 10 or 12 local media members. I said, instead of going to class, it's on the same night we have class, go, here's what I want you to do. One kid. This week was email pitch letters, and, you know, it's similar to networking. It's trying to open that door. You know, believe it or not, this is going to come as a shock to a lot of people. I'm an introverted personality. I'm not going to bring up a topic unless I know you. So 9 times out of 10, it's people that are in town. For instance, there's a conference in town this week in Atlanta that people want to meet with me, and I'm speaking at on Friday. I wouldn't have asked for that. People ask me for that, or they want to meet with me. I'm not going to outwardly do it. So I see it from both sides. I know how difficult it is to cold call or cold email somebody, hey, I'm in town, you want to chat. But I think these kids in college don't understand or are not taught the necessary tools. And I know for me, when I was 18 and 19, I sure as hell wasn't walking up to a group, hey, I want a job, or hey, I like what you're doing. That just wasn't my personality. And I think it's a mixture of that. And I think the kids, they're just not taught how to do it. And I think that's going to be a continuing issue.
Jenni, A, B, or C?
Can you repeat the A, B, and C?
So are people, A, afraid to network?
Okay.
B, don't know how to do it. Like they just don't know how to network. Or C, a combination of both?
Okay, totally. I think a combination of both, because it is scary, right, to reach out to someone. So, for example, Roy Sekoff, Huffington Post Live, he leads that initiative. Someone that I've been following online would love to meet. I saw he was coming to a conference here. Twitter is great for that. You can reach out to people beforehand. I said, would you love to get together for 10 minutes? I just love to talk, pick your brain on where the future is going. He DM'd me back. He said, great, let's meet here. Ended up spending a whole hour with him just talking. So just asking, I think, is the number one thing, and realizing people may ignore you and say no, but not take it personally. And then how to ask, like Chris was saying, doing it the right way versus doing it confrontational or sort of rude as well. Like even Justin, he has been in my life since Mark introduced us at Pac-12, but now I have him on a list of my friends and people that I want to keep up to date with. So I feel like, and same with you, Peter and Chris, I feel like I see you guys all the time, right? Because I'm watching your feeds and I am getting to know you, but we haven't hung out much in person. But like Justin, if I saw you, I feel like we've been friends for years now. Because
yeah, totally.
We keep that online communication going.
Yeah.
So it's not like just a cold reach out. Now it's just watching what they're doing as well.
Chris, what were you going to say?
And add to what Jenni said, not to sound really creepy or stalkerish. So I've written a book, co-written with somebody that I've met once in real life. That the connection was made through Twitter, and ironically, it's about social media. So if you want to purchase Developing Successful Plans in Sports, it's available at fitpublishing.com. It's only $35.
Do podcast hosts get a discount?
No, but if you want the PDF, I can send it
I will
to
support
you.
PopTernative will support it.
So I can get my $6 royalty check and just.
Okay, but you got to sign it though. Whenever I see you in person.
Yeah, hey, if you buy it, send it to me and I will sign it. I've made that promise to everybody. It's odd to get books in the mail to sign. It's weird signing a college textbook, but My wife just looks at me and chuckles, but hey, it's my 5 minutes of fame.
You plug something, so I'm going to plug something quickly now, and then Justin and Jenny can also plug something.
We're a big time podcast now. It's like listening to talking about MailChimp.
No, very quickly. So part of my master's research essay on the LA Kings and their social media and fan engagement was actually published in an article on Sports Illustrated. So. Yeah, just let you guys.
Cool.
Yeah, well,
it's a great piece.
You're
10 out of 10.
You're clearly more famous than me.
10 out of 10. Read it again.
I think all three of you shared it. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yep. And that's a lot for me. I'm not a hockey fan, so I know that's blasphemous.
Yeah, we could. You could. What I talked about can be, it could be, associated. Applied to any other sport or entertainment, though. Like second screen consumption. And to answer the question, we have Zach Lyman. What are we talking about today? Well, Zach, we are actually talking with 3 social media experts about networking, and we're going to be talking the second half about hashtags. So that's what we're talking about on the show. So Zach, welcome, and thank you for joining us. But yeah, I just want to say, Justin, do you want to plug anything?
Good question. I'll let Jenny go.
I want to thank my husband for looking after my daughter so I can do this.
Now I feel guilty.
He's not on Twitter.
My kids have been in bed for a while.
How many kids do you have, Chris?
2, 7 and 4. My 7-year-old acts like she's 35, and my 4-year-old. My 4-year-old is a 4-year-old.
And the 7-year-old can look after herself.
You would think if you listened to her, she could, but my house would get burned down.
All right, so I think what was brought up, and I think what we brought up about networking. I think that question I posed is a really interesting one, and I think. If I was teaching a course about networking or social media, and we had kind of like a seminar to discuss, I think that's something I would bring up, because I think it brings up a lot of different aspects and a lot of different things. Because in today's age, today's day and age, we are meeting people in a whole different level, in a whole different way, right? With social media. So I think. That's something that I also bring up, as just a coffee shop talk discussion. I'll just be sitting with one of my friends, and he's checking his phone. Second screen consumption, and he's basically, and we just have the conversation. What do you think about how people meet people these days? You know what I mean? Now, sometimes we get sidetracked and we just start talking about online dating the whole time.
I was just thinking that.
But, sometimes we have pretty thorough and extensive discussions. So I'm really glad I was able to, get your input about that. Let's move on. Hashtags. I think hashtags are something really, cool. Jenny is probably an expert on hashtags. Hashtag Tagboard.
Well,
hashtag
Zach is saying the expert thing. He said that he'll never call himself. No, wait, that was you, Chris.
Oh, that's
Zach
Chris.
said everyone is an expert. He's just kidding. Sounded it's just interesting. But something on that expert thing and being the hashtag expert. Yeah. It's great to be called that, because reality is, I feel like all of us in social media who have been trying to push this power within our industry feel more like we're looked at as crazy or Martians than experts.
Sorry, can I just quickly say something before? So something really cool just happened. Mitchell Balmas has just joined. So let me just Mitchell Balmas, by the way, I work for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Mitchell Balmas is actually in our league. He plays for the Charlottetown Islanders.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm in
And Mitchell is actually eligible for the 2016 NHL draft, which is fantastic.
Hey, Mitchell, can I be one of those people that sits next to you, like you see the hat you hug when you get drafted before you go down to the stage? I can play that role really, really well.
Okay, we just had a little bit of that. There was a lot of. Can you say that again?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I asked Mitchell if I can be one of those guys in the suits sitting next to him in the stands when he gets drafted. I can give him the half handshake hug before he goes down to the stage.
So I think his question is going to be, well, slow your horses. I actually have to get drafted first. I think that's going to be the response. but yeah, no, it's really cool. And one of the things, with Quebec Junior Hockey League is my ability to kind of, and Chris and Justin, you guys, working for college, working in college sports, you get to, sometimes interact with athletes, correct? Mm-hmm. Isn't it? Yeah, I love it. I think it's really cool. I think it's something really unique, and I think it's I think it gives it makes my day when I'll tweet something, and players will message me and say, "Wow, that was fantastic." You know what I mean? We had one recently. I don't know if you saw my hockey pun, but we have a player in our league named Vladimir Kuznetsov, and I tweeted out, "Why did the goal not count?" And I put a hockey pun, "'Cause net's off, 'cause the net is off, 'cause net off." So I thought that was pretty cool. But what I was going to say about hashtags is a hashtag is not just like a tag. It is a community, right? We have the whole social media and sports hashtag. That's like a community. You click on it. There's a bunch. Don't you find that very interesting?
Love it. Love it.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's like a tag has become like a club.
Well, yeah, and not to Twitter hijack whatever this conversation, but if you just look at hashtag Miracle on Techwood from this past Saturday and just look at the videos, the vines, the photos, I mean, we've been able to collect and aggregate everything from Saturday and Sunday from our win. And, yeah, it is a community. And unfortunately, there are people that don't know how the internet works, and they just hashtag every word, and I want to strangle them because hashtag O, hashtag M, hashtag G, hashtag my, hashtag friends, I don't care. I mean, people just don't know how to use it, but if you use it effectively, that's how you can open conversation. That's how you can really affect change in the world, with whether you know it or not. And yeah, when 15-year-old girls are using Twitter and hashtagging every word, I just want to throw my damn.
Yeah, unless you're doing that ironically, it is the most annoying thing in the world, and it's almost like instant block. Because people, I think, to ground the conversation, like I think that's either it's a lack of understanding or they just don't care. Like hashtags, if we go back to when they were invented, hashtags were a way to categorize conversation. Right? Like that's the way it was to form that community and categorize the conversation. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It was building a community. I think the two that we use that we'll gladly let you borrow down there in the ACC from this past weekend, but the two that we drive here at the networks are Pac-12 After Dark, which is anything weird and crazy that happens when the sun goes down in the Pac-12 or even when the sun is up. And that's we don't have to tell people that it's happening. That's a community. That's an emotion of people watching our games and saying, holy crud, like this guy, this kid from Washington State just ripped off 6 touchdowns in the first half. That's totally Pac-12 After Dark, because that just doesn't happen in the normal realm of sports. The other one that took off last year for us was Back the Pack. And what's cool about Back the Pack was that first of all, it wasn't, I like to say it's not a hashtag, it's an emotion, like Chris said, and it's eventually it goes from hashtag into behavior, right? Like it's a learned behavior. We don't have to prompt people to use Pac-12 After Dark, and now we don't have to prompt people to use Back the Pack. It's just something that they do. When we create hashtags around games that like you see on the screen, if you're just like talking about the game with your friend, you're not going to put, you're not going to always think to put at FSU VSGT. It's just not part of like your flow. And so it's a great thing that I think we do on TV, and we do it obviously all the time. But, when you turn that tag into a learned behavior, when somebody sees something that the Pac-12 does and they tweet, all right, that was awesome, hashtag Back the Pack, and, that gives us a pang of joy. Like somebody is seeing value in joining that conversation, and we don't have to remind them to do it. And so when you see something like Miracle at Techwood, or you see something, Jenny's job is to curate those, help curate those conversations and drive them publicly. And I think you hit that stasis with a hashtag when you don't have to prod people to use it. When you get to that point, then you've created that community. Like, nobody has to remind us to use SM Sports, right? That's just like, something interesting happened and I'm going to tag it SM Sports because I know that there are other people following that tag. And so when you get people to that point where they're not only using the tag but monitoring it to join in the conversation, you've hit pay dirt.
Yeah, and
Jenni,
I don't mean to interrupt, but you want to paper, rock, scissors for it?
Do it, yeah.
1, 2.
Oh, wait, you did it. I do it Aussie style, I guess. I was paper, you go.
Well, I do it South Louisiana style. We do it on 3 because we're just a bunch of people down the bayou. So at Georgia Tech, we do hashtag Together We Swarm, and that's our marketing campaign. It's been our marketing slogan for 2 years, and it's going to be for a couple more years because we've seen it build community. And just like everyone else has said, it's a community network. At Miami, when I got there in 2012, we were at the beginning of arguably one of the worst 20-month periods of my life dealing with NCAA stuff. And we had hashtag I stand with the U and hashtag it's all about the U. The I stand with the U turned out to be a community rallying cry during all of that mess, and fans really jumped on it. So it's just more further proof that hashtags, if used properly, can build community. Otherwise, you're just a 15-year-old girl that just hashtags every word and needs to not.
I don't think people think about that much, eh? Like, do you think people think about that, like a community?
Well, I
don't
think it just builds community. I think also that next step is it gives your community a call to action. Your community will do one thing to you. So,
yes.
For example, before I got into technology, I was the traffic anchor, right, with this large following. I actually had the largest following of any local TV talent in the nation online, and I felt the power then.
That's what the Emmy is for.
That's what Emmys are. By feeling the power.
Show Mitchell your Emmy. Do you have your Emmy there?
Oh yeah, Mitchell. Check this out.
Mitchell, look, she's won an Emmy. Is that cool?
All I have is a fat head and a bobblehead of me. And
at work.
I got John Wooden behind me. That's all.
And I have my diplomas in the back.
I need a paper, scissors, rock to talk again. No. So I felt the power of hashtags by the amazing community I had. For example, Toys for Tots. Our TV station was trying to get toys donated, get viewers to bring them to the lobby. They told me to go out shopping for 2 hours and put the videotape online. And I said, we can do so much more in 2 hours. Reached out to my community and I said, use hashtag mobile tweet up and I will drive out and pick up your toy from you and spend the 2 hours doing that. We raised 6 truckloads of toys in 2 hours. So the community used a hashtag as a point to action. Everyone in the community wanted to help kids smile on Christmas. They didn't know how. You as an organization can bring them together with one call to action utilizing the hashtag and then help them make a huge difference. Like just by themselves they can't, but if you all rally around a hashtag, you can. I mean, the other one, there's been so many where you just rally your community around hashtags. And now in the sporting world, Root Sports Northwest. So the Mariners use hashtags in their games for social media display. So we help power that. Now Root Sports is using the hashtag where I root. So now not only at the game can you show your experience and get up on the big screen, but as a viewer, you can show yourself on the couch in a selfie and that will get up on the Mariners. So you're watching the Mariners game, seeing yourself in bump outs where I root, like a person at the game is seeing it. And that's been so successful to bring the community together. But also it's very positive because now your viewers or your fans are in control of what they post. They're not posting that they're upset watching you, right? They're posting a cute shot, girls are getting a lipstick, looking good. So now you have this beautiful social media footprint of them telling their friends they're watching you or they're at the game as well. It's so powerful.
And it's interesting you mentioned that. 2 examples in the past week here along the same lines is, we're one of the many TV networks that puts fan tweets up on the screen, which is part of Jenni's vast empire at Tagboard. And probably my favorite thing is we'll put a tweet up on the screen, and then all of a sudden somebody will take a photo of their tweet on the screen and show all their friends. And it's a small impact. You know, they might only have, it doesn't matter if they only have 50, 200, 250 followers. That's that visceral response, like, that's the payoff you want, right? I saw my tweet on TV and I'm really excited. And to Jenni's point, definitely not the social good, but one of our major activations with one of our brands, which is called the Adidas Touchdown Room. One of our partners is Adidas. And we have our space in the studio where our talent watches games is branded the Touchdown Room. And they want to do some sort of activation, but we're like, well, just showing a bunch of guys sitting around watching sports is really uninteresting. And so in Jenni's realm of the call to action, what we did is exactly that. It's the Root Sports idea is show us your touchdown room. And it's literally just people tweeting us photos of them and their setups. And sometimes it's just them, a photo of their television. And sometimes it's these elaborate fan caves that these people have built. But to the point, it's when you make them feel like they're a part of that community and a part of that rallying cry. You know, one-to-one relationship in social media is so underrated and so undervalued because it's this vast sphere of followers and influence. But we forget that when you can make that one-to-one connection, it's really valuable because there you're making a fan for life, right? At the conference at Sports Fest that I was at last week, one of the presenters said, impressions help you sleep at night, but engagements bring partners back, and engagements make fans for life. And so I would rather have, 100, 200 super engaged people with an activation or a hashtag than like 1,000 of them that just seeing it and moving along with their day. Because I know if we've made an impact on them, perhaps we've convinced them to buy a ticket to a game or turn on the television and watch a game or follow us on Twitter and engage with us again. So the more that we think about that and building about those calls to action, like Jenni mentioned, then the better off a lot of us are going to be.
Yeah, and I've used this analogy at a couple of different conferences, and I get weird looks like I have 8 heads, and that's perfectly okay. My children give me the same looks. All right, so fan is short for fanatic. Mm-hmm. Whether we all acknowledge it or not, all of us that use social media is narcissistic at some basic level. I don't think I have an ego, but if my name's in lights on a scoreboard, I'm getting excited. If my favorite football team is retweeting me, that's the new autograph. So social media is narcissism at some basic level. And, people just like to see their name on the big screen. That's, holy crap, why is my computer wigging out with favorites?
So I want to say an example. When I started out as a sports director at a little tiny market, which means you shoot all the football games, you run back, you edit them, you then put on your makeup and do the TV stuff. And I remember when I was shooting the high school football games, the moment I turned the camera on a spot in the crowd, the kids, you see just that section, go crazy. There's that energy of putting that spotlight on someone. They couldn't even hold back. They just jump up. So I feel like that's what now it is with social media. If a team puts a spotlight on you, if they reply you, if they favorite, there's that feeling of that you get addicted to, and it is like that loyalty. It's a different level than just being a viewer or a fan. Now you're part of their family. Like, they've touched you, they've reached out, they've shown that you exist. It's pretty cool.
And Mitchell also brought up hashtags can also, cause issues. Of course, we had a situation down here on TSN where it was trade deadline, I believe, and there was a Dion Phaneuf, Joffrey Lupul hashtag that went up that was not necessarily appropriate for television. So it does happen, and I think.
Oh my God! What the hell is going on?
Oh my gosh!
What is going
Chris,
on?
just take the compliments.
I'm getting I'm getting a lot of them now too.
I know it's been a long day, but man, I thought I was seeing stuff for a while.
Well, what were you gonna say?
Well, you were talking about the hashtag issue on TV in Canada. I think, Justin, I don't know if you remember this. I guess the Patriots had something a couple months ago where it was like an automated thing, and they can create their own digital card or jersey, and there was a racial epithet in the handle, and that caused
that was a Deadspin moment. We call those Deadspin moments, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I want to get on Deadspin for good stuff, not because somebody was an idiot.
I felt bad for the Patriots in that instance, though, because I've seen that product, and the fact of the matter is when you set something up like that's automated and perhaps the spam filter doesn't catch something, then, you set yourself up for a little bit of a problem. So, it's interesting, like, I just mentioned to Mitchell in the comments on the side, like there's always a human element to social. If we could just set social and forget it, then, it wouldn't be social media. It would just be media. And so, somebody made an error when they put that tweet up on TV and they learned their lesson. And I hope that they're still working because nobody deserves to lose their job.
I hope they're still working too.
An error.
I agree with you.
And the idea, the Patriots, that's a product that backfired on them. And I felt bad. I didn't want to laugh at that. I kind of wanted to laugh at it. I didn't want to laugh at it, though, because it's the idea that, like, listen, it's a product. I've seen the way it works. And when you understand how something like that happens, then it makes a little bit more sense. And certainly a person should have been there saying that handle shouldn't appear on Patriots.com. And maybe that's not a good representation of what should go out to public. Then, you learn from the mistake and you move on. And I guarantee you it'll never happen again. The problem is it happens. So,
but yeah,
and we all lose sleep over the possibility of that happening to any of us. I mean, there's times I break out in cold sweats and I realize, it's just Sunday and there was no game last night. Why am I freaking out over nothing? But I mean, it's bound to happen. It's human error, and it is what it is.
If you have any doubts, I usually say don't, right? Mm-hmm. Or you have the friend buddy rule. Always ask one person. And so Sugar Sausage asked, what was that Susan Boyle hashtag? And I wrote it there. You can see if you don't capitalize certain things, a hashtag can become different, right? But that just takes asking one person. Like, have a buddy if you're doing something extremely important like that. And
oh man, that is, I just got that. Pig,
the lesson here, right?
I can't believe I just got that now. Oh my god. That is this mind-blowing thing.
This is the best Peter reaction video of all time.
That's what it was supposed to be, that, and they printed it in the newspaper. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Isn't the moral of the story here is never tweet? Just don't do it.
Sasky Stewart, the first Australian to ever come on PopTernative, said if you wouldn't tell it to your grandma, don't tweet it out.
Yeah. Well, the lesson obviously is like, listen, always think about your audience. If you look at something and you get insular, we all have our inside jokes and they make sense to us, but maybe that inside joke isn't going to register with your audience, and so you always have to worry about, like, how is my audience going to receive this when I hit send? And so we've had those moments at Pac-12 Networks where something gets sent down and we think it's going to be hilarious, but we didn't spend that extra 5 seconds to be like, people might not think this is funny or maybe might not think this is appropriate. And so if TweetDeck has the best safeguard to that. It's got the check mark. It's the 2-step authentication. Like, you must click it to authorize yourself to tweet it, and it forces you to look back and read it again before you tweet. And so, number one, never tweet. Number two, always think about how it's going to register with your audience, because if you don't, you start to get into trouble.
That's incredible. I'm sorry. That is just like, I'm still on this. Like, I can't get it out of my head. That is ridiculous. That is incredible.
Well, it's no different than the Mavericks and the Rockets.
That was a big
horse gun emoji. And I have friends in the NBA, and they were split. Some of them said, "Oh, it's in good fun," and I'm like, "Okay, well, what if they instead of a horse they put a kid head emoji?" But where's the outcry there? But yeah, Justin says a 2-step authentication. I think a 10-step authentication, where it says, "Are you sure?" You click OK. Are you really sure? Yes. Have your friends seen this? Are you definitely sure? Get it notarized by 5 people. Because and really, in the basic question is, just give yourself 5 seconds and you ask yourself, is this a good idea? And if your head's not in the sand, your moral compass should navigate you in the right direction, because too many people get in trouble just trying to be cute on the internet. The LA Kings started it all, and I think too many people are trying to replicate that.
I just had Pat on PopTernative last week.
And I think too many people are trying to replicate that because they want their 15 seconds of Twitter fame. Okay, go ahead and do it. Because last time I checked, there's been several people getting famous for being jobless. So if you want to be an idiot, go for it.
I agree with some of what you're saying, Chris, but I just want to put it out there. I'm going to do a bad tweet or fail. I am going to, because I want to. It's going to happen. I want to be raw. I tweet moments, and in moments you're emotional, and sometimes you aren't thinking quite right, but I know to my soul I'm a good person. I don't mean anything bad, and anything I tweet, I can back. It may be that I used the wrong word, and I honestly know I wouldn't have meant it. But
you just brought up a really good discussion question that I'm typing up that after you're done, I just feel like it would be sad if everyone put so much blocks on and brands and sports teams couldn't experiment with their personality. And I feel sorry for the people in the position to be that voice, because to be great and be raw and let your fans in, you have to experiment, and you're going to make mistakes. And so I guess it is the managers and the bosses of just, if they can go to bat and say, you had strategy behind this, you had good intentions, I will defend you.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a tough one though, because we've seen it end people's careers, right? Or they have to go hide, and
Well, let me give you a perspective from a college angle, and believe me, Jenny, you sound like my wife. My wife never agrees with anything I say, so it's cool.
I agree with most of what you say. Everything.
So from
your wife's a good woman, by the way.
So well, she's upstairs, but I will pass on the message. So for a pro team, you don't have as many constituencies as, say, a college team. So for college, anything we do, we're representing essentially the alumni, donors, current students, former students. We have so many different areas. So for colleges, we kind of have to toe that line. Whereas Miami, we can be edgy. And we were edgy a lot. Whereas at Georgia Tech, we have to be a little bit more conservative. Baylor, we had to be a lot conservative. So it all depends on what kind of school it is. Hey, believe me, if I can be edgy and experiment all day long, I would. But, I mean, at the end of the day, unfortunately, in college, there's a little bit more constraints to us. I don't know. With that being said, I don't know if I could ever work in pro sports. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. I'd feel that there was too much stress. I'd be afraid I would tweet something and then I would go with Justin's theory.
I'm definitely gonna. I mean, I guess I can spill the beans on some of the guests, but I do have some people who run digital media for professional sports teams on the podcast in November. We're going to have Courtney Schilling, who does the social media for the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I think is going to be really cool. And we're also going to have a couple of people who do social media for the Phoenix Suns, and then we're going to have other NHL teams, and we're in the works with some MLB and some NFL, but I think that's really interesting. But I really like having the conversations. I'm gonna bring this up. We're gonna wrap up the episode PopTernative really soon, but very quickly. Justin and Chris, you deal with a lot of college athletes. What do you think about this interesting, when they transition to pro sports, the ones that make it, that play for your teams? Justin, Mariota is the one that comes to mind for Oregon, playing, the NFL. How does it, I guess my question is, when you're creating content, let's say, about that, is that something that you believe people want to see? Do people want a lot of stuff? Do people want to keep in touch with what's going on with the alumni, Chris, of Georgia Tech? Or, what do you think about that? Because you want to create as much content as you can. And QMJHL, we love, talking about, our alumni or what's going on in pros. Daniel Sprong, Mitchell's BFF. They're best friends. He's playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins now. They're best friends. he's playing, as an 18-year-old in the National Hockey League. We'll create content, and I'll talk to Andy Perelman, who does the social media for the Penguins. I have a nickname. I have a hashtag. His name's Daniel Sprong, so when he scores a goal, I wrote hashtag can't go wrong with Sprong, which I think is a good one. So what do you think about that? Don't you find that interesting? You follow them into their pro career.
Yeah, our schools love it. I think the Oregon Ducks, you mentioned Marcus Mariota. Unfortunately, he's hurt right now.
Mm-hmm.
They do a column every week, and it's hashtag ProDucks. USC does USC to the NFL. They have a very, very strong interest in seeing that success because it's a reflection of their program, right? Marcus Mariota goes and wins Offensive Rookie of the Month in the NFL in September, and that reflects to Oregon fans of we produced that guy. Last night was opening night in the NBA, and the Pac-12 was very proud to have the second most alumni on opening night rosters behind the SEC than any other conference in America. And we can point to programs like Arizona, who has 13 alums in the NBA right now, and UCLA, who has 14 alums in the NBA, and that's a huge point of pride. With guys like, especially schools like Utah, who love seeing their guys go, and Arizona State goes crazy. And I think all you have to really do is look at Monday Night Football, and why this matters so much is the players introduce themselves and they say what school they're from, and people get really, really excited to see, especially like in Miami. If I see a guy up there and I'm a Miami fan, and I know he doesn't play anymore, but if it's Clinton Portis and he's like, I'm Clinton Portis, running back, and he gives you the U, that's Utah. He gives you the U, then you're like, yeah, I went to the U. I'm pumped to see that. So there is a lot of pride. And so as the anecdotal example, when Mariota went off for 4 touchdowns in his first game, and all we had to do was put a picture of him in a Titans uniform and his stats up on Facebook, and I think it probably got 500 or 600 shares. And the cool thing about it was it wasn't just Oregon fans. We talked earlier about back to pack, and I think that from a conference level out here in the Pac-12, we like to see our guys do really well, regardless of where they went to school or not. And so what we saw was a lot of people being like, I'm a USC fan, and I'm so proud to see Marcus Mariota doing the Pac-12 so proudly in the NFL. And so when you're building that community around watching guys that you watched in college succeed in the big time, that's a really special feeling.
Hey, Justin, I want to say the Pac-12 does that great with, and not just big athletes. So I was an athlete many years ago at the University of Washington, and they they will include mean tweets with Brock Heward, they watch their student athletes that have left and what we're doing, and they're so supportive. And it's great for their current athletes because it lets them know you're part of a family. We're not going to forget about you. But it's also, I think it is great content too for us to realize, we're still connected, and then you want to support them more, so spread them more as well. So really good job by the Pac-12.
Thank you.
And from a Georgia Tech perspective, so just like what Justin said, we do pro jackets for football. Normally on Mondays we do it for basketball. We have a guy in the NBA named Chris Bosh. Even though he only played 1 year here, he's still kind of a big deal in the NBA. People somewhat know him, kind of like Calvin Johnson and Demaryius Thomas in the NFL. Georgia Tech is also a hotbed for professional golfers. We have about, I think, 25 total on our various tours. And I think the hot word as to why we keep up with alumni in college sports is recruiting. It is the
man. I didn't think about that. This is terrific. I didn't think about that.
That's why I was hoping Justin wouldn't say it, so I can say it.
Toss it up for you.
So for us, we use recruiting as an angle for a lot of the things we do in social media and digital. So if you go to our website right now, one of the content pieces is a Pro Jackets piece. And we're in the balancing act of what's enough content versus too much content versus not enough. And right now, I'm hopefully in a perfect world, we're doing just enough. I would hate to be on the too much, although that would be a good problem to have. But everything we want to do is centered around recruiting, because we're trying to get the biggest and the best athletes, both academic and athletically, here at Georgia.
No, Yeah, you mentioned, Chris Bosch, at the QMJHL, we had a guy in our league. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. His name was Sidney Crosby.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, a little bit. He's a big name, and when we have the opportunity, we will create content around it. But the fact of the matter is, we have many amazing alumni that are now playing pro. That it becomes a situation where I have to, I have to make it, for the social media aspect of it as well, right? Like Sidney Crosby is not on social media, so but someone who is very active on social media, that maybe I'll get a retweet from him, I'll cater more to those players to kind of get them involved and get them in the conversation. Do you guys? You both brought up amazing, like those 2 points, and Jenny, I think you could agree. Like those 2 points were fantastic. The recruiting and the Clinton Portis, that's amazing. I didn't think about that. When I watch football, they tell you what school they go to. That's terrific. But
and when I was in Miami at the time, we had the most NFL players in the league. We put that on every.
How many? Do you know the number by any chance, or?
We were at my first year. I think we were at 50, and I want to say mid 40s when I left. And I think they're still upper 40s. I mean, I think they had the most on active rosters at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, any school, they're going to use that to promote, because, I mean, that's the ultimate recruiting tool, is kids that have played at your school that are now playing.
I can't believe I didn't think about that. I can't believe it.
I'm glad you did. I got that.
No, I can't, because the thing is, very quickly, it's not NCAA, but we have CIS in Canada. So Carleton University had, where I did my master's and my undergrad, we had one of the best basketball teams. We went on, we won, I believe it's like 10 championships. We cleaned house, and that was used as a recruitment tool. You want to be a winner, you come play basketball at Carleton.
Yep.
So that's great. Like, I love conversations. Like, I know you said, Chris, I got a bone to pick with you, Chris, because yes, you are an expert, and I don't care if you say you're not.
No,
yes,
no,
you are.
No.
You are. You're so good at what you do. Your tweets are unbelievable.
I appreciate that, but I'm gonna debunk that myth right now.
I'm not letting you debunk it.
But here's my pitch, because anyone that calls me an expert, I laugh.
Don't laugh at me.
And I don't mean it. Well, all right. So Facebook has been around for 11 years. The only experts in my mind are Mark Zuckerberg and whatever buddy he started it with. All right. Twitter has only been around for 8 years. The only experts is Jack. Okay, just flat out at Jack. Dude knows his stuff. Periscope. It's only been around for 9 months. There are people promoting themselves as Periscope experts.
Yeah.
Unless I'm living under a rock, there's no way in hell you can become an expert in something in 9 months. And I haven't, in my mind, Peter, while I greatly appreciate you calling me an expert, I haven't failed enough and learned enough from those failures to be deemed anything. I'm just a bald guy with a fat head that just tweets an insane amount of times.
Who has better internet this time around?
Well, yeah.
On episode 1, we had problems.
Yeah, the first time was an absolute train wreck. I'll hand it to you that way. Although I have like a little glow above me that makes me look special.
Would you call yourself a specialist?
No, I would call myself a social media consumer.
Okay, so that's it. That's interesting.
I don't know. I guess it's just my personality. I don't like labeling myself as anything.
But I'll just say this. You're really good at social media.
I appreciate that. And I think part of my issue is all these people that brand themselves as experts, and I just want to slap them.
I guess I got to switch my Twitter bio.
So that's true, though, especially at the conferences, right? When people go speak at conferences, they say they're an expert. I remember listening to Blake Nordstrom. He created Nordstrom, right? He's leading that right now. And he doesn't go to conferences because if he's at conferences, he's not doing and experiencing. And that really stuck with me. If I'm flying to New York for 3 days, I'm not working with sports teams and media companies and experimenting and doing. But if I'm talking about things that are in the past. Whereas if I'm doing and showing an example, that to me is more leading towards the expert than the person talking about up on stage. They're not doing, like the expert is the person that's hands-on trying, and they might be failing. Like you said, you have to fail a lot of times too.
And I think, going back to my initial statement, I think there is one social media expert that I will crown. I'm sorry, Justin, you came in second. Gary Vaynerchuk, I think, is the only one. I used to think Gary was annoying. Just, I don't like people really up in my face and abrasive. But after listening to him a lot, see, Jenny's on Team Justin. That's good. After listening to him and really paying attention to what he's saying, I mean, that dude has failed a lot. So I think when it looks at all platforms and really how to sell yourself and use it properly, I think in my mind, Gary may be the only person. And I partly say that because I just want him to answer one of my questions on his podcast. So I can see my tweet show up. See, narcissistic.
But he does admit when he fails, right? And so that's a lot of people only talk about social media, their successes. There are so many failures. And so the people that can be open and talk about that, I feel like that's great. And you appreciate that from him.
I think you should let other people talk about your successes, and I think you should acknowledge your failures and what you've learned from them. That's far more beneficial for people to hear what you learned from your screw-ups rather than, I kicked ass on that thing. Yeah, look at me, I'm awesome. Let other people do that for you. It's kind of like the analogy. Advertising is saying that you're good at something. PR is getting somebody else to say you're good at it. That's the exact thing.
I think too. I look at a lot. I get a lot of followers every day, you know, and
because you're a big deal in Canada.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I was just saying. Okay, it made me sound narcissistic, Chris. I'm just saying.
You're among friends. It's all right. Just the first thing is to admit that it's okay. It's okay. You're good.
Hashtag I'm kind of a big deal. That's what you should tweet right now.
Yeah, I will tweet that after this episode. But what I was gonna say is, you guys get those follows once in a while where that one person has 87,000 followers and follows 100,000 followers.
And it's just followers.
Yes, but I find it's this is my opinion. Yes, and Jenny, I gotta say this properly because what you do is you do hashtags and analytics. That's your thing, right? Yeah. But I find, this is my opinion, that with social media marketing, a lot of the people who are analytics, and how to strategize it, and I don't think they talk much about content creation. The engaging, creative, unique content. I'm a type of guy who, analytics and all that and make reports. I don't do that as much. Yeah.
I might say something that totally backs you up here because.
Okay, great, because I was afraid. I was should I say it? She's going to bring up me and say, listen, analytics, what?
Right. So on the surface level, what we do is bring together social media and then companies display it on big boards or lower thirds, right? Okay. That's surface level. Behind that, though, so for example, New Year's Eve, a lot of TV stations have lower thirds going along. CNN does it worldwide. Our Las Vegas station had lower thirds and trended #1 in the world on New Year's Eve, above the CNN and everything. Las Vegas, that little market, but it was because of the content. So we helped them with a hashtag strategy that their reporter was on the Las Vegas Strip with a selfie stick, and one of the viewers at home took a selfie of himself with the reporter and the selfie stick. And within that 1-minute report, they had it shown, and the reporter is now saying, hey, Bob at home, watching with your selfie stick. And so the viewers are actually feeling like they're real, they're part of the conversation. Whereas this was produced 5 hours ago, you're not really listening to me. So I totally agree. The content is, the analytics come afterwards, but the content is.
I'm not saying engagement. They're important, but it's just, I see so many accounts that it's all about SEO. It's all about analytics.
Numbers.
Engagement. I don't like that. You know what I mean? I'm more about creating fun, engaging content.
Engagement follows reach. Reach doesn't follow engagement. If your content sucks, you're not going to get good numbers. So, you can't just put anything on the internet and expect it to go viral. And I hate the word viral, by the way. That's the only time I'll say that tonight.
I hate analytic reach.
Yeah.
Strategic reach.
How many followers?
Focus on your content and people will come. That's all.
Yeah.
You can have the prettiest website in the world. You can have the most lavish restaurant in the world, but if your food sucks, no one's coming back, right?
I don't want it to be a robot as well. Like, I don't like automatic tweets. I don't like it at all. I think the only thing at QMJ Show that we do that's kind of automated is our RSS feeds, like our scores of games automatically get posted, like the final scores. But then after that, I'll make content around that, so it doesn't look too bad. But we do that because it's live. As soon as a game, we want to have that score up there. We used to have it where the box score came up. We don't have it anymore, so I got to talk to my boss about that.
I'll take Justin's comment a little further, and this really somewhat rubs people the wrong way. I don't give a bleep about retweets and mentions and shares. I could give a rip.
Coming from the guy who gets so many of them on a daily basis, but go on.
No, not really. If I did, I'd have over 1,000 views on my podcast, but I don't, so boom. Anyway,
I don't even have that. Don't worry about it.
From a brand, from a sports portion, I don't care about retweets, mentions, shares, whatever. Yeah, analytics are great. There's still numbers on a spreadsheet. If a tweet or a post of ours that's original and organic and thoughtful leads to media coverage in a positive way, like a story about the twins we have on campus or the things we're doing within the program to try academics, like for instance, we have 3 straight semesters, 3.0 mean GPA for all athletes. At a school like Georgia Tech, that's unheard of. So if organic information like that and stories are created and then they end up on television or the front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or they gain traction somewhere else, to me, that's a success. Something getting 1,000 retweets, we can brag about it on Monday, but that really doesn't do anything. No. Okay, well, we checked the box. Cool. We got 500 new followers. Now what? So my mind, yes, I love seeing large numbers. I love seeing our content shared. But if that doesn't lead to stories in media whether it's radio, TV, or newspaper, then I'm not doing my job because I'm not into narcissistic and egotistical metrics. I don't care.
You want a flow of responsive media, right?
I want our story and our content to live on. I want it to multiply. If it's just on social media, it dies within 24 hours unless you're the Rockets or the Mavericks and you're tweeting about horses dying with emojis. Unless you're screwing up, it lives on the internet forever. But if it's a great heartfelt story, it's 24 hours max. So if we can get that to gain life in the paper, in radio and television, the media sources that still exist that people tend to ignore, that's where I want it to live. That's what I view as a success. The metrics are cool to brag about. To me, they don't mean anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're out of time now, but I just want to thank you all and everyone who tuned in. This was probably one of the most interactive episodes of PopTernative we've ever had.
Yeah.
This was incredible. I just want to say it's an honor, Jenni, to have an Emmy Award winner on my show. Can I see it again? Can I see it?
You guys are so funny. It was a team that got this. That's the thing. I happen to be the face of an amazing team.
Yeah, but that is amazing. It's amazing, and I'm a big fan of your content and Tagboard. So to have you on my show is incredible. So thank you very much, Justin. I'm a huge fan of your tweets. Chris, I gave you enough praise before. So I'm not gonna. Really say
it is what it is, man.
But congratulations on being the first ever returning guest on PopTernative.
Thanks. I guess that was positive, and hopefully the 3 of you will be individual guests on my podcast, which
absolutely
love that.
on SoundCloud and iTunes.
Awesome.
So
I would love that.
I love following you guys online.
Yeah, no, thank you. And another thing too, very quickly, someone that I had on episode 1 with Chris, we had Armand Walia from Bleacher Report. He's terrific too. So if you just giving him a shout out because that was
can
really
we do
special.
a photo?
Sure.
Okay.
But I'm also I'm gonna be able to get screenshots of it afterwards.
Okay,
but,
smile. Wait, how do I get myself in? Oh, there we go.
Awesome, first ever.
I'm posting that.
PopTernative selfie or whatever you could call it. All right, so this has been PopTernative. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jenny. You can follow us on Twitter at PopTernative. You could also follow check us out on Facebook. If you missed any previous episodes of PopTernative, you can check them on our YouTube page and our SoundCloud page. Thank you very much, and also happy early Halloween to everyone. Halloween's on Saturday, so
be safe.
Thank you for tuning in to PopTernative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of PopTernative on YouTube. Be sure to like PopTernative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.